record. Hold on. Looks like it's recording.
Okay, they'll call the meeting to order. First order of business on the agenda is comments from citizens present. Is there anyone who would like to speak at this time? They have 3 minutes to speak.
Sure. I'm just calling in to comment about the ordinance for the, I guess you call it motorized toys.
Okay. So David, could you say your name and address for the record?
Yes, David, D-A-V-I-D, Lorman, L-O-R-M-A-N. My address is 3649 Marigold Circle in Middleton.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So do you want just my comments now about the motorized or motorized?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Oh, okay. So my comments basically are, I would ask that the city hold off on adopting any ordinance at this time for this type of change, to allow more time for evaluation. Find out if there's actually ever been any complaints to the police department regarding the operation or use of any kind of motorized toy in the conservancy and conservancy areas, etc. If there really is any documented proof that operating these devices in the conservancy has had any environmental impact, so on and so forth, as was raised at the previous meeting. Secondly, if the city has done any research into understanding the impact of it in terms of potential use of what are called UAS operators, which are unmanned aircraft systems for commercial rescue, surveillance, and research use in and around the Middleton and Conservancy areas, and the impact it might have on any type of airspace. So I don't know if you have any, if the police officer has any comments in terms of if there's any record of any.
David, what was the acronym you just used? You something?
Oh, yeah, U for unmanned aircraft S systems.
Okay, I had the A and the S backwards. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's also, and of course I can't officially speak for these folks, but a few folks have sent some emails into committee members, just kind of outlining their viewpoints in terms of the kind of ultimate impact of an ordinance like this. And finally, I really almost see it as kind of frivolous at this time. I don't know why there's a need to draft such an ordinance when there's probably a lot bigger fish to fry. And more important things on the city agenda.
Okay. Anything else?
No, thank you very much.
Anyone else like to address the committee public comment? Hearing none, we'll close that portion of the meeting. And we'll move on to the approval of the minutes for the April 21st meeting.
Move approval.
I will second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Moving on to license and permits. Number 1, review of an application to amend the agent for the alcohol beverage license held by Biaggi's Ristorante Italiano LLC, doing business as Biaggi's Ristorante Italiano at 1611 Aspen Commons, to appoint Joshua Kawatakowski, Madison, Wisconsin, as agent.
And just a review of this one, it's just a change of agent. They already have a license, obviously, but he's saying he lived in Wisconsin for the last 4 months. He does not have a Wisconsin driver's license yet, but I have no reason to doubt that he has not. I have no evidence to indicate that. No history legally that's of any concern for the police department.
Okay.
I would move approval.
Yeah, given that, I will second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2 under license and permits. Review of alcohol license renewal as well as application to amend the agent for the alcohol beverage license held by Middleton Sports Bowl LLC doing business as Middleton Sports Bowl, 6815 University Avenue, to appoint Richard R. Thomas, Middleton, Wisconsin, as agent.
And just, I guess I'll address the change of agent first. There was a little bit of an issue with the paperwork that was filled out. My understanding is Lori had contacted the Helen Brands to get that squared away. Not having that paperwork, I'd still have run that check on the agent, and there's, as long as we get the appropriate documentation, I don't have any issues with it. There's no legal issues with Mr. Thomas that would prohibit him from being the agent from the police department standpoint. So that end of things I am fine with. And then obviously the other issue, which the Helen Brands are here for, is to address the approval of that license based on their legal issues that have been developed. So.
Okay. Dudley or Sherry, would you either of you like to address the committee?
I was wondering, did you get a chance to read the email that I sent to you earlier today?
I did. Dan? Katie?
Yep. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I hope that explains a lot of the situation, and that you take a lot of other factors into consideration. I guess, is there any questions that you have for us?
I have a question. Has everything been settled then with the video game? Is that all settled, or is there still pending actions and things going on?
The other vendor who was involved is I need to be a little careful on how I answer some of these questions, because there's more people involved in this situation than just us at the Sport Bowl. And but our part with having the video games in there, we don't have those games in there at all anymore. The one vendor is still awaiting sentencing.
That's a vendor of the machines, right? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Of the vending of the video machines?
Yes.
Okay.
The owners.
Okay. Well, my question is, as far as you're concerned, have your charges all been addressed for your business? Or is that still tied in with this other vendors?
It's not tied in with the other vendor, but we have not had our final sentencing date. It was originally supposed to be in October. It was pushed back. They had a status conference update in December that was then addressed, that it got rescheduled for March. Then the prosecutor asked for more time, not for anything. We've been very cooperative and continue to work with them. So the reason it keeps getting pushed back has to do with there is an ongoing investigation. The devices are found in other establishments, and
Right.
I need to be a little careful, as I don't want to say too much, because there is an ongoing investigation, but that ongoing investigation does not have anything to do with us.
So your case is still pending sentencing yet? It hasn't been sentenced yet? Is that how this is?
That's correct. We've worked with them, and we've said, we want to pay all the money back. Can we please sit down and talk about this, and really are trying to do everything possible to rectify the situation.
Right.
But it's nothing on our end to delay this. I mean, if it was up to us, we would have had the sentencing back in October.
Oh,
so
right.
that we can-
Absolutely. Nobody wants something like that hanging over their heads, I know, so.
So if I may just kind of outline what it is that legally that the considerations you have to take into account. On the one hand, Helen Brands are fortunate that some of the recent amendments to state law that we discussed, I wrote a memo to the committee 6 months ago or something like that. Right now for any conviction, not only do you have to make the connection that it's substantially related to the licensed activity, which we discussed at the last meeting for Sherry's operator's license, that this was the license that, there's much more of a substantial connection because as a actual license holder, there's alcohol license tax reporting issues and everything like that that are similar to what's going on here. But now so it used to be just as long as there was a substantial connection, it was a felony conviction, our hands were almost tied in those circumstances. That's no longer the case. We are able to consider evidence of rehabilitation. And now the Hellebrands are certainly kind of all relate to what you've done. You are required to consider the offense, including committed an application and present fitness presented. So I certainly think some of the comments about cooperation and what efforts are being undertaken to pay whatever monies are still owed. I guess in conjunction with some information from their attorney, perhaps even some kind of input from the as to their cooperation and things like that could all be evidence that you would consider as evidence of rehabilitation, particularly in the absence of the fact that they haven't been sentenced and haven't really been able to complete any sort of sentence yet. I think it's probably fairly appropriate to look pretty broadly at anything that you would could be considered as evidence that what they were convicted of should not cause concern going forward. And certainly, to some degree, their long history of operating the business could be taken into account somewhat, although it's complicated by the fact that this has all happened more recently in the history of ownership. But I don't necessarily think that's irrelevant either.
So,
I mean, it's something that we can, talk to our attorneys about to see if we can provide that type of information. I don't know exactly, what they'll say, but yes, we can, we can definitely ask them and do, whatever we kind of possibly show that this is an extremely isolated instance, and this is not who we are as people.
And Sherry, I'd be happy to, if you want to have your attorney contact me, I can direct your attorney to the specific statute I'm looking at, and maybe discuss further what kind of things can be presented. You know, it just does seem like, especially since prior to the enactment of these provisions, I think our hands would almost be unfortunately tied in this case. So that's where this is good for you. I think this has been opened up quite a bit for more discretion to be exercised. But at the same time, you know, I think we probably need to see, I don't want to quantify how much more we need to see, but I think maybe a little bit more for the way to either allow this to go forward or not, but certainly give you the chance to put your best foot forward on this.
All right.
Yeah, I think the committee needs some independent verification or statements from people other than yourselves to help us make that decision. And I think that's kind of what Matt is saying. So I think that I would be in favor of moving to defer this until we can get some of that information.
I would second that.
Any further discussion? So Sherry, you'll work with Matt, your attorney, to have Matt help get some documentation together for the next meeting.
Some other clarification that I think when Dudley filled out the application, he was a little confused on. James Brown is listed as our agent right now. And we were under the assumption that he was going to remain the agent until, is it June 30th or July 1st when it changes? Actually, it would be best if James Brown remained our agent during this time, because Rick is currently laid off and Brownie is still working part-time hours, and Brownie still stops into the Sport Bowl daily. You know, so I don't know how that process works, but can we just please leave James Brown as the agent until we're able to reopen again? Okay.
Dan, does your deferral?
Yeah, our deferral will defer the appointment of Richard at the same time.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Any
Matt,
other?
Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the deferral?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Motion deferred. Okay, number 3, renewal of application for 2020 and 2021 Class A and Class B intoxicating liquor, Class A, Class B fermented malt beverage, and Class C wine licenses.
And these, like, just real quick, I think in the past, and this is my first time through this, so you guys know more than I do, but I've looked through all of them and talked to Lori as well, and generally speaking, recommend approval contingent upon all proper paperwork being turned into the city clerk.
Okay.
All right. Given all of Jeremy's comments, I will move approval.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4, application for a special event permit by Classic Car Show, Nate Halbach, contact person for the Classic Car Show on June 20th, 2020 in downtown Middleton.
Yeah, so and that I apologize because it says Nate on the agenda. It's Noah.
Okay.
So Noah. His application was Noah. But yes, this is for an inaugural Classic Car Show. Currently, right now, he's proposing June 20th, Saturday. The application also lists around 50 cars, but we've been in discussion since, and likely it would be closer to 28. It'd be the streets of Hubbard Ave and Aurora, and currently planning to use the parking lot behind the library on Terrace Ave.
Say that again. I missed that, Lori.
Planning to use the parking lot on Terrace Ave behind the library for the actual public that attends. For the public to park or to? Correct. Yep. Yeah, so that wouldn't be where the actual cars park. That would be parking for visitors, attendees, anybody coming to the show. And
And
then
the
Noah,
Laura,
you
classic cars are on Hubbard and Aurora?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
What's on Elmwood?
it would start at on Hubbard Ave. It would start at Parmenter, and then it would loop around, make an L, and go on to Aurora and stop at Elmwood Ave.
Stop at Elmwood, because the diagram showed something on Elmwood.
I don't see that.
No, correct me if I'm wrong, but there wouldn't be any cars on Elmwood, would there?
Correct. I have a comment that says these spots reserved for classic cars, and I have an arrow pointing towards Aurora Street.
Oh, okay,
There's 4 parking spots over on Aurora.
okay. Okay. Well, Matt, I reached out to you today about the street closure and different things, and there's certain issues with that.
Right. Let's see here.
I had a question about that, if you mind.
Go ahead. I need to find my.
Okay.
What I was looking at.
So, due to the fact that there's only 28 cars and able to participate in this show, it would be nice to have all of those spots somehow able to be reserved. And so I know that closing down the street the night before is probably not going to happen with the nightlife that goes on downtown Middleton. That being said, is there any way that we can assure that the spots will be reserved, maybe through signage of some sort, posted on the sidewalk somehow, just to let people be aware that, hey, there's a special event going on here tomorrow. Like, don't park your car here overnight. It is a 2-hour limit there anyways, so I don't know if that is an issue at all.
I thought I saw, aren't there signs there that, is overnight parking allowed there?
I don't think so. I think it's a
I
2-hour.
don't think it's allowed anywhere, yeah.
I know
Yeah,
downtown at Parmenter it is not allowed. I don't know if it goes on to Hubbard there.
I thought I remembered, because I thought I looked at, I thought there were signs that say no parking between, it's like 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. or something like that. Am I imagining that?
I'd have to look.
I think that's on Parmenter, but to
Yeah.
me, I think
Yeah,
so.
I know that has been on Parmenter. I can see if I can pop up the ordinance here quick, but
The car show itself will be on Hubbard Avenue, not on Parmenter.
Right.
No, is this a fundraiser?
No, it's not. No, it's just to promote the local businesses in downtown Middleton. There's not going to be any sale of like liquor or wine or food or anything. It's really just to bring the community together and to support the Middleton as a city.
Okay.
Matt, it is, just to clarify, there is no parking 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. Aurora from Hubbard to Elmwood and Hubbard from Aurora to Parmenter. So that is in the no parking from 2 to 4.
Okay. Yeah, I think it'd be best to rely on it because, our ordinance doesn't really distinguish between, reserving street spaces and, it's, to me, I think it's still a partial closure of the street. And right now the ordinance requires denial for anything requesting the use of the street in excess of 6 hours. So certainly blocking things off for this beforehand
Okay.
reaches that. And then I think we might have to look at adjusting the hours too for, let's see.
So the ordinance, what does the ordinance state?
It's the street, applications for special events requiring the use or closure of public streets shall be denied if any of the following apply. And one of them is the application requests a period for the use of the street in excess of 6 hours.
Okay. So if we were to change the application instead of 3 to 7 to, 7 to 3, if we changed it to 8 to 2 or something like that. because that would be 6 hours exactly.
Right. Yeah, I think that would meet the ordinance.
Okay. Okay, and then is it possible to post signage that says this area is reserved on June 20th from 8 to 2?
Yeah, no, and that comes from the police department. Generally we would draft a no parking order, and then I'd be in contact with you to take care of that. You guys would be responsible for posting that, and you can get signs and posts from Public Works. And then I would draft up an order saying from, in this case, say 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. You can't park here. And then you guys would post that. You have to post it at least 24 hours in advance for it to be enforceable for us, and then we can take enforcement action in that case once it's posted.
Okay. Okay, and
Question for you. Why are you proposing parking people behind the library? Why, if these are going to be people using the Middleton Center, why can't they park at Middleton Center?
they can park in the underground parking spaces in the Middleton Center. There is a limited number of spots there, and so I was thinking for access.
Well, one thing that I'm not comfortable with right now is we haven't gotten the second parking study done yet. It's not complete, it's in draft, and there's still errors in it. So we're short, we don't know what the parking situation is downtown. It appears to be short, and to close these off would probably cause a, you said you reached out to the businesses in the immediate area. What about like Hubbard Avenue Diner, where they need those spots in front to do their safe distancing, and they're loading their meals, and they need a loading zone there?
This actually would not be an effect of Hubbard Diner. It's actually the block down from Hubbard Diner. So the business.
I understand that, but to bring this group of people in, you're closing off part of Hubbard. They're going to park somewhere else. You can say they can park behind the library, but people are going to want to park where it's least resistance. And I'm not sure, but this is the time to start interfering with their loading and their unloading of the safe distancing.
And I totally agree, Kathy. This would definitely not be the time. That being said, this isn't going to be happening until June 20th. And in that time, the Safer at Home order will be up, and things will starting to be going back to normal. And I think that there is enough parking in Middleton. Obviously, you don't know. You said that there's some issues with parking, but
the parking study, yes, I do know. Yeah.
This is 28 spots that we're going to be taking up, and it's only for a limited amount of time. And that being said, there are other alternative parking spots that people can park as the Middleton Center and the public parking spot behind the public library.
Well, we had it all worked out where there'd be a certain number of shared parking in the Middleton Center, and that's not how it's divvied up anymore. And that really leaves us short for public or patron parking. So I'm just want to put that out there. So the other issue is item number 4 of why it would be denied is the proposed use could be held in a public park or other location. We're asked to deny if this could be held in a public park or another location. Yeah.
So 2 reasons for that. One is that the idea of this classic car show is to promote the city of Middleton. And so I think it's imperative that it is taken inside the city, downtown of Middleton. Number 2, I don't want to park cars on the grass or anything like that. And I'd like something that is, that is going to be advantageous and it's going to be conducive to this. And I think that area is very conducive to this.
Mm-hmm.
And also we're going to be able to help with social distancing through this because that area is actually very spread out. And they'll be able to walk around through that area and maybe on the street because it will be closed. So people will be able to walk on the road and whatnot. And so I think it's really important that we do it there just because the idea is we want people to see this, we want people to be drawn to this. And so I think that's why it's important that it's there and not at a park.
Would you consider, Noah, I get that you're trying to bring businesses right to the Middleton Center, but would it work to have the classic cars behind the library in that lot?
And again, the idea is that this is an attraction, and the attraction at the front of the businesses that we're trying to promote, which is all the businesses in that area in downtown Middleton. And if we stick them over behind the library, people won't be as drawn to that. And so these are going to be kind of like pieces of art that are going to be coming in here. The people that I've been talking to they're talking about bringing very, very nice and expensive cars. And so they want to be able to, in some sense, show them off, because it is a car show. And so it would be nice to have this as like an attraction for the city of Middleton. I think it's very, very beneficial to put them there.
I haven't been down to the construction area behind the coffee shop. Is there any open space there that Terrence would let a car show happen? And it would be like you'd be right there at the businesses?
There is not. They have that closed off right now for construction over there. So it's not accessible, and there's actually no concrete there right now. It's gravel.
Yeah.
So I think that Hubbard Avenue to Aurora Street is the best possible location for this. And I've talked to the businesses around that area, Long Table, the other Journeyman, some other retail stores, and they're very supportive of this, and they really want to see this happen.
Matt, did you have any other concerns? You started out by saying that you had some things to add. Was there anything else?
No, I mean, I think we've primarily addressed I just wanted to, make sure we hit on the street closure things, because normally our street closure stuff is for races, and we don't really have too often an occasion to revisit those. So I just wanted to make sure that we did. But I think we discussed all the ones that are. I mean, the only other thing I guess is I'm not sure. Well, I understand that the cars are going to be parked in the designated parking stalls. So that at least would seem to address number 2, whether there's going to be any concern about, getting a fire truck or ambulance or something through there. As long as everything's parked in the designated stalls, that I would guess shouldn't be a problem. May want to get, I don't know what other conditions or anything, Jeremy, if we'd have any other concerns, we will make sure they don't do certain things in the rest of the street. But, other than that, I don't see anything else.
What about item number 1? The proposed street use is primarily for private or commercial gain. This is just to promote the businesses downtown. It's not a fundraiser. It's not a.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's, I think maybe certainly worth some discussion. I mean, it's, and certainly, as I expected, motivation here probably to attract, people downtown for businesses. The event itself is not for making money. And I think it's maybe a broader policy discussion too, that, maybe it's time that we have as we envision what other kinds of events might occur in this area in conjunction with the Stone Horse property and
Green.
I keep wanting to call it Stone Horse Glen, and then I can never remember which it is.
Well, we all have one Stone Horse. I feeling uncomfortable about whether or not it'll be time to encourage a crowd of people. I also am feeling with the parking situation down here right now not being, we have less parking now that phase 3 has come in, and it's kind of wiped out all the parking that would have been along Terrace. In that Terrace phase 3 area. And I don't think that this is a good time for the parking until we get it all settled, till we know more about what's going on.
If we were to change the application from 7 to 3 until 8 to 2 to fulfill that 6-hour ordinance, and the parking is not my big issue. I think we're going to have a lot of foot traffic, and I think we can achieve social distancing with the street closure, people being able to walk around in the area, and also that we're only taking up 28 parking locations. It's not that many. And so I would move for an approval on this application.
Do you have a contingency plan if there is still strict COVID restrictions?
As I said, I think that we wouldn't be breaking any social distancing orders by making this. That there's not going to be a crowd per se. It's more of a walk around. People will stop at one car or another, but there will not be any congestion. Is my
How will you ensure that? How will you ensure that there's not one spectacular car that 15 people want to stop at and look at? How are you going to monitor that? How are you going to?
Well, one way we can combat this is through our volunteers. We have 3 volunteers already that are going to help with car parking, and they can also enforce social distancing during this event.
Might want to also maybe encourage some signage, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's another great idea.
I personally just don't feel like this is the time because of the reasons I've stated. Is that we're short of parking already downtown. If you want to, I think Katie's idea of maybe putting it in the parking lot behind the library is a good one.
Either way, I feel like this should be deferred just so that the application can be updated.
Our next meeting is scheduled for June 9th, so just keep that in context as well.
Well, it might give us a better idea of our COVID situation at that point.
Yep.
Because we could have, we may or may not be having another spike. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
With all due respect, June 9th is going to be a little bit of a late notice for planning sponsorship and, not sponsorship, cars that will be coming, because, car people, they kind of like to plan so that is a little bit of a notice for us.
What if have you got everybody committed? What if you cut your show to a limited number of cars? Just get the best. Just get the best 10.
So it's interesting that the Cars on State Street has 400 participants. Iowa Car Show has over 2,000 participants.
Oh, I get there are bigger car shows, but here we are in this weird situation of limited space, and I get it. I have a collector partner. I get the car thing. If it's just if you wanted to make a splash and have people really want to come down and see some exquisite cars, maybe it's a dozen of them, and they're just so spectacular. It could still be the big draw. I'm trying to help you kind of wedge this in.
I have 15 people who have with very nice cars who are interested in it right now. If we were to cut the amount of participants to 15 or 20, would that be something that would get this approved?
I don't know. I'm just I'm trying to brainstorm here for you. What are you guys thinking? Kathy or Dan?
Well, I understand Kathy's concern about parking, but as the summer goes, we're going to have, and with the construction, we're going to have parking issues. And having said that, this is a fairly small event, we have to I think we somewhat have to look forward to what are we going to do with the other events that come forward too. And so,
Will there be more certainty, I think, at that point too?
certainty as far as,
Well, we should know what the parking looks like. We should know what the social distancing looks like. We should know, what we could expect. I mean, are we asking for a large group and we're going to get told that it's not the time to start having these festivals are closing all the time here. And it just,
well, the early date does somewhat make it problematic, but can we, if there are no restrictions, or if if the COVID restrictions are lifted by that time, or reduced, or however, then that's not a basis for denial.
right.
Well, might I suggest, I think regardless, any event that gets planned in these times is going to be subject to some degree of certain uncertainty. And, maybe, if the COVID-19 issues, let's just pretend for a moment that those are the only issues that give us misgivings right now. It seems that perhaps maybe we could sort of give a conditional, now maybe not truly a conditional approval, but give some comfort that the committee approves of the event, and however we want to give that approval tonight, but bring it back nonetheless for a final review, just to see where we are in terms of those kind of restrictions, and see whether you want to impose certain signage requirements or other specific things that would be limited to COVID-19. So at least there's some certainty that forward and plan and invite and the only way it gets called off is really as if things are not moving in the direction we all hope they are, and then any other things would be just maybe some minor details to deal with any concerns that exist based on the conditions at the time. Something, that kind of framework.
Yeah, because part of what the pause that there is that a lot of the events, special events that are coming to us are pushing off into August and September, and the fact that this one is June it just makes it a little bit more of a time crunch.
I think we'll be very compliant with whatever social regulations are imposed at that time of June 20th. It's very uncertain as to what that will be. But if some sort of like a partial approval or something like that would be nice, so that we can start.
I personally will not be giving any approval on this until we get the parking study done for downtown. After we went ahead and took away shared parking and put in assigned parking. Gets be done. I'm not going to approve for just saying.
When is okay, and my application I submitted this is the first year we've done this, so it's very unknown, just like this pandemic.
Yeah, we haven't done this yet. So. I'd like to see this, Katie, I like your idea of limiting. Maybe
If it goes well, then the second half of your applications, you know, in the second come back on June 9th, or I guess I'm not sure where we are. Dan, do you have a sense of this?
Oh, well, my sense may be different, but I'm not sure. And I totally understand what Kathy is saying is about the parking, but I'm not sure that we can use the fact that a parking study is
No,
wrong.
we don't know how much parking we have and trying to-
um, is we're going to have to decide, and basically we're making a policy decision tonight for every event that comes along downtown. So because the parking is not going to be cured anytime soon. So if we say we're making a policy decision tonight that we're saying that any event that's used parking is contemplate that, and on the basis of
But if the second event says you're 44 spots short of what you need for operating Middleton Center is
I don't know if this will help, but I mean, closing the street, and you know, that is why and view the classic cars and otherwise hopefully patronize downtown business. You know, I just kind of hope with
the contingency that if the there's some COVID restrictions or what have you, that those changes could be made for whatever reason we make those decisions.
is this a full approval or a tentative approval, or what would you call it?
A different, because we don't know what it would. How can we?
We review the application again at the June 9th meeting, just to consider any potential COVID-19.
Kathy, I pose. Okay. Number 5, change special event permit for Neurofibromatosis Midwest. Maggie Wright, contact person for the Great Steps Walk. 4 and F on September 12th, 2020. I capital parade previously issued for May 16th, 2020.
I would move approval of that.
I'll second. Sorry.
For outdoor amp. And keep the sports center. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Ordinances. An ordinance to prohibit the use of motorized toy vehicles in servicing land and waters.
I have a couple of questions. We got a gentleman who runs they do work with drones. They don't really have any jurisdiction over those at all.
Seeing the drone just flies in. I certainly think it would make sense to have a drone, but I understand the fire department does, and maybe, they might use it to search for somebody, or, maybe some governmental exceptions probably
Any
make
further
sense.
discussion?
So maybe we,
Hearing none, all in favor of deferring? Aye. Motion carried. Ordinance to amend section
Good Neighbor
7.08
Festival
for an age I.
format
No.
was discussed to allow separately licensed temporary premise, the license and premises description issues that proposal.
A special permit for the whole down.
And that is that,
Okay.
but
so this wouldn't affect the, I'm sorry, Kathy.
no, yeah, so you could, I did, right. So, yeah, I wouldn't, I mean, you could allow something like what's happening at Good Neighbor Festival to happen at Stonehorse, but yeah, the walking bar to bar thing really wouldn't work out.
Why couldn't people finish their beer in one tent?
Separate areas. Ultimately we'd have to decide whether, how big of the area we'd want to authorize for alcohol back and forth a little more freely.
I'd like to make a motion to defer this until next month. We'll have plenty of time to talk about it, and if it's going on or not. Betty, okay, Abby,
Okay.
I have some questions on it. It's supposed to go to Plan Commission on 29th. I don't remember, but we'll know more then. Miscellaneous parking in front of mailbox. Like that sign on the mailbox, just saying, please do not.
Sign and enforcing those requirements could be costly. And we have to look at that a little bit more, but it's more
Be at the owner's expense, and only if they, and we
well, yeah, it's another idea. Owners.
Matt, could you bring back that ordinance for next month and we can talk about it then?
We can talk about it more. Yeah. And this is,
Okay. All right. All right. We'll defer that till next month. Okay. Anything else, anyone? I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move, we adjourn.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Carries. Motion, meeting adjourned. Thank you. Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye,
Thank
Lauren.
you.
Yep.
Bye.